Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more people to show up.
New letters appear above a key. The keymaster spins away. Archibald is in charge of dealing.
Hey, everyone. Still a few more people coming through. All right, everyone. We're gonna get going. Usually that works. Hi. Hello. Oh, there's some more people. Yay. Welcome. Yeah, you will. Me too. Awesome. My name is Bailey Goodwine, and I am here in conjunction with Emily and Leslie to talk about the idea of an alternative school option in Livingston and what that might look like. Our conversation tonight is going to be super it's not planned out. I don't have a slide deck for you. It's mainly a brainstorming session to get an understanding of if it's a viable project to pursue and what our community, parent community, and other people would like that to look like in terms of curriculum, programs offered, financials, location, that sort of thing. There's a couple options that we kind of discussed just between ourselves. There's a charter school option, but that might not be the only route that we take. We kind of want to know what the community would like to see, and then we will kind of gauge our energy accordingly. So where should we kick this off?
I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, sorry.
Since I missed some of that. I'm Leslie, for those of you I don't know. My husband Graham and I, we run Elevate Montessori, which is a school for 0 to 6-year-olds. A lot of you I know. And we have always talked about how amazing it would be to grow up in age. Graham specifically, who's home with our children right now, has visited Montessori schools that go up to 8th grade and just talks about the magic and the beauty, because as children get older, they are given a lot more of the opportunity to set classroom rules, to really be the people who are creating that atmosphere that the children want to be in. And then us as guides guide them into that space so that way they can be as successful as possible by watching them, talking to them, learning from them. So that's really where the Montessori philosophy lies in going older. There are definitely exciting opportunities now that charter schools are a possibility in Montana. And there's also lots of challenges if this is something that as a community we want to pursue. And so we just kind of want to talk through with all of you what that looks like. Emily, you want to share a little too?
Sure. My name is Emily Close, and I run Educatio and have for the last 4 years. So we do project-based learning, and it's K-8, pre-K-8. They started a forest school program this year. So part of our mission, it's hands-on, meaningful, and then the connection to community. So we have a strong social emotional component, and that's super high focus. But we're also trying to be accessible to parents in a financial way. And so when you're trying to do high quality education accessible to all in a private setting, it doesn't pencil because parents can't bear the whole cost of education. I think resources in equal resources out. And so what we're finding is over the last 4 years, there's just so much instability with providing this option, as a lot of you guys have experienced. It's really beautiful programming, but it's really born on the backs of the parents involved or the educators to carry it, and it's a lot. And when you do small group, that's where you can do really amazing things with kids and it feels better to kids and adults and parents in different ways, but it's really cost prohibitive without a sustainable funding source. It's very political to fund private school, especially in a small community like this. If you're not with the public school, then you're against them, which because and it's not necessarily that way, but it's I think more and more parents are finding different options and needing different options for their kids. So that's why I'm here right now, just to share what I've learned in different ways. In terms of how to fund programming, I don't know as much about Montessori. I have done a lot of research about the project-based model, and I really think it's a great, meaningful learning outlet for kids. But we've been talking about, Leslie and I connected just because we need more capacity to run a school too. Like Leslie's teaching, she's the administrator. Like we need more professionals and more capacity to run, to deliver the outcomes that you guys want for your kids. And so joining forces, I think, makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of overlap in the philosophies, just in terms of the social emotional culture that we want. So like we applied for charter status last year, so I've been navigating that and understand it as much as one can being in this, because it's a brand new process and avenue for schools. One of the biggest questions I think is how does it impact the local district, and how much does it impact taxpayers? And how much do you really get? Can it pay for high quality education once we get there? What's the timing? So, because we definitely don't want to compete with the public school, we're one community, but it's not equitable to have one option and then parents have to pay for another option if their kid doesn't fit. Everyone should have public option that feels secure and sustainable. So, 2 options isn't even great, but that's a good start, So anyway, we can answer some questions about what that looks like. I think our budget for about 60 kids is about $1 million. So how does that break down with tuition? There are very few grants for private schools. We subsidize our program with after school programming or funding or summer programming to fund the building. So there's all these ways that we're trying to figure out the funding code, but it's just not there. And then when you add in trying to pay teachers well, forget it. It's like, so we're closing early this year because we can't pay for the programming. Like the parents can't pay for that, the small community. So that's unfortunate, but I think it's a really good evidence that if parents want different options, that we need to come together as a community to work together as parents, like to have a long-term K-12 school. Because that's the other thing. It's like, what do our kids do in high school? Or, and I think we can have the measured, consistent, secure outcomes with the academics and the social emotional, but we have to really work hard together because it takes a lot. So we were talking about, what are those parent priorities, and having you guys give feedback, because we're going to go for a community school or partner or whatever. If we're going to build something together, then we have to prioritize, understand what capacity it takes to realize those priorities, and then how much does that cost, and then how do we get there? So that's what I think. That's my that's why we're here coming together.
Are there any questions off the go? Yeah.
Can you explain a charter school? I mean, I should have Googled it for a thing, but I don't really understand it. Is it government funded then?
Yeah, so sure. So the Montana legislature passed 2 bills. One's a community school bill charter that's in litigation right now, so it's kind of on hold. But that basically is any group could get public funding to have a small group community or whatever that looked like. It has to be approved by the Office of Public Instruction, but there aren't any, there's less regulation or accountability about how you operate. So it's just an educational program would get money. So, and then the second one is you would have to meet Title 20 regulations from, the Office of Public Instruction. You'd have to meet, their curriculum standard proficiencies, so you're trying to reach all the goals, same things that public schools are held accountable for, which I think is a good thing. We want those proficiencies and the standards are really good, but how do you meet those? So the way that it would work is you go through an application process. Then you get a state allocation if you're approved and you meet all the criteria. So the word charter is basically a plan. So they want you to have, it's basically a map of how you operate. So in the application process, they ask how you're gonna do evaluations, how you're going to do discipline, how you're going to staff, like what staffing positions, how you're gonna oversee with the board of it or your board. And then, so the charter is your plan and your map. So that's where we were talking about kind of a blended Montessori project-based learning approach, community school. But this is tonight, we would really need a committee who's gonna write the charter. And there's many great models, but you write a charter and that's a community school charter. So parents have to be very invested in what that looks like with experts. But so you write this plan of what we think is best practice for education, what we want with all of our priorities. And then if the application is approved, then the state provides some of the funding and then the local tax base provides the other. So there's base aid and then there's A and B funds, which is per student enrollment fund. So base aid, about 45, so you get about 30% of your budget allocation of base aid. And then 70% is your enrollment. So the base aid, 45% comes from the state. And then about 55% comes from our local tax base, the property taxes. So when I talked to Missoula, we called Missoula and Billings, business offices. And just to say, like, where does that money come from? How would it affect our tax base? Missoula said it all comes from the state. Billings said, it doesn't. You wouldn't even get it all up front the first year. So really, it does impact our local tax base. So we have to be not in the first year though. So you don't even, when you open a charter, you have to fund, you don't get funding for all of the enrollment until the second quarter or the second semester, because they do that enrollment count the second semester. So you'd have to fundraise for that first allocation of your budget. And then same thing with the second year, the taxpayers would see that base aid tax increase and the A and B, because the local taxpayers pay 55% of the base aid and then they pay all of the A and B. So our local taxpayers are paying for the enrolled students, our enrolled student education. Mostly the state pays for about 45% of the base aid, but that's only 30% of the whole thing.
Which is what happens with the public school in terms of taxes right now.
Thank you, that was my question.
Yeah.
Like, so if more children enrolled in public school, we would all be paying more taxes because there were more children in school, regardless of.
If it was public school or charter school, yeah.
Well, say like the 400 some odd students who are not currently enrolled in public school, but public school age. If they all, for some wonderful reason, all enrolled in public school, our taxes would go up because there's more children at the school.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions there. It's really complex. Part of it too is that we get a subsidy as a rural community, like from the state for some of that enrollment. So those are questions that we have to look more deeply into to really understand what the cost would be to the community. To be extremely transparent is if we organize for a charter, what it's actually going to cost and look like.
Is that something that citizens would vote on, like a no? Or would it just?
No, and that's the weird thing is that the Board of Education approves the charter, but then it falls on. But it brings, so it increases taxes, the voters don't have any say.
That's sort of like, I think what I hear is the reason that this is all important in understanding this is that there's a fear fundamentally from that doing a charter school is going to get backlash in our community because people are going to off the cuff say, well, now we're gonna have to pay for this extra thing and all this other stuff, and we have to have a good answer. Is that basically why this research is important early on?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, definitely push back on why do we need one? It's taking
Just
money away from the
without-
public
I
school,
just wanna make sure.
right? Yeah,
I think what this, so the honest, full, this like transparency, what that we wanted to do here is to learn and figure out if there is community buy-in and what would create that enough for us to continue on the path of this application, because it's very time consuming, it requires a lot of research and expertise in terms of like understanding the funding aspect. And honestly, if people aren't interested in sending their kid to a charter school, or it's not the type of education they want, you don't really want to get down that path. And then it just not, just be like, oh, whoops, like, yeah. So I think that was a brainstorming session around what would create community buy-in is what this meeting particularly, we were hoping to get out of it. So, you're okay. We did have, yeah, we did have a question Erin posted on chat, because we are zooming, by the way, it's being recorded just in case I'm supposed to tell you that beforehand. Does anyone know about the Acton School in Bozeman?
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Is it a private or a charter school?
It's private.
A private, okay. Community school or something else? It's just a private,
It's a private school, yeah.
okay, cool.
I talked to you a little bit about it before, Emily, but I actually, it's just been a conversation we've had that's come up a bunch, but when this same bill went through, that homeschool bill went through also, which is basically allowing homeschooled kids to attend public school, and Andrea just kind of, because it's new, so it'll just go into, you'll be able to start using that as an option this fall.
Okay.
And I don't know what across the board, I don't know if all these public schools have the same policies or whatnot, but Andrea was talking with Winans, for instance. And they would require 5-day, it'd be 5 days, but 1 hour a day, and they can kind of allocate where the kid needs the most sort of help in that area, and kind of, I don't know sort of beyond that, if it's like you commit and they're those days or that times, or if there's flexibility, but I feel like something that just like in the circles of people that I talk to about school is like allowing some flexibility in all of our lives for school, for our kids, for their, like different alternative styles of learning and traveling and things like that, and how that could look. And I don't know, I just keep going back to something like that being the need of, okay, if you did maybe try that out and your kid went to school those few days, is there another option for like a homeschool style education? Which I don't know if anyone knows about the Learning Bench. I just learned about it yesterday. I have a friend who's teaches there and our kids go there, and it is a Christian-based program. It's that church that's across from the Town and Country. But it's private, they only do 2 days a week, they're full days, and they're learning, it's all standard learning up to, what the public schools are teaching, and I think testing and stuff, but it's sort of balanced out with homeschool.
Cool.
So, yeah, totally, it's a hybrid program, but like, if we went away from the charter program and went back to more of like a private program, but that was like specifically for maybe some of those families that wanted to do this homeschool option, but it offered
Right.
more of the stuff that, Educatio is focused on, and then maybe some of the other type programs that kids go to the public school. So I don't know, like scheduling wise, but is that This is so new to like, I don't think bring in like a whole.
No, but that's why we're here. I
Yeah.
think that, like, it's just a brainstorm. I
Yeah.
want, this is an option that I think makes it a sustainable, comprehensive, long-term, secure
Yeah.
education possible.
But that's
But
again, like, the
definitely,
flexibility
yeah.
thing, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, if we only offer 2 days a week through a program like this, we could have top of the line teachers and programs. And you would pay for it, but it would be, it would only be 2 days a week, so you just focus on that and. You know, I think we still could probably figure out some scholarship funding and things like that. I don't know if that's something to consider.
Yeah, definitely. So what we kind of, I guess we can hop to these neon boards around the room. That would be one of the items you could put in other, like what priorities you guys would like to see in your child's educational experience. If it is flexibility or a variable schedule,
Mhm.
or if it's social emotional learning or a Montessori base, or if you want like a farm to school program, or you want a heavy like STEM or STEAM or whatever component for your kid, like what you want to see so that we can kind of decide if there's enough buy-in in the community across all of the people, or a large enough people to make it viable, and then write the application so that it gets that buy-in, because we have to get it approved by the school board.
Mhm.
And so if people can show up at that meeting and be like, we support this, this is something we would send our kids to, this is something we value, then there might be a better opportunity for it to continue to move forward.
And then would that move into the community school, or what, is that separate from the chart, with something like what I just was proposing, that's separate from the charter program?
Totally. Yeah, I feel like that would be something where there's unified parent demand and you guys have aligned goals, and then, you know, you work with the school or educator or not, but like then you have a space or use your home space, or we coordinate that together or just amongst yourselves. And I think people are doing that, and that's, you know, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna tag on.
Yeah.
Because I find these laws really interesting, the new ones that are going into effect, so they'll start for the school year, and essentially, because I talked with, Ann Penn and Patty today, just to like how these laws integrate with Lyman's. And I know this is talking about public school, but I do think it allows for a lot of flexibility and kind of interesting thinking around it. Because essentially what the law is that any student can go, you have to commit to 5 days a week for a minimum of 1 hour. But it could be, let's say for the morning block they go, or the afternoon block. And that can be forever, for kindergarten, elementary, high school, and beyond. So to me, that just opens up a big space of, maybe it's a part-time literacy and reading in the morning, but then there's an afternoon component that's more like outdoor based or project based. If parents or families kind of came together for that sort of need.
If that
Absolutely.
falls under, if the charter was approved, would that, obviously like enrollment numbers are gonna be a little different, but would that option open up to, like, if you had a registered homeschool child and you did 3 days, I wonder, like, the charter status at this possibility would allow for students to be there a couple days a week as opposed to like a 4 or 5 days?
I think it can be kind of whatever, like legally it's a public school, so that it would fall under that same
Okay.
regulation, and I definitely feel like if we were working together as a community with public, private parents, then our kids could get everything. But it's,
Yeah.
so that's, we're working towards that with that, because I think a lot of parents do that with, or even students with us, they go to some classes at SGMS and then they come to our school and do other programming. And so, and that seems to work for parents. I think a lot of parents do that with Park High. They have private teachers, they just pick and choose like what they want, what the public school doing well, and then, or what their kid needs, and then they
You have
fill in the gaps.
kids that in costume that are doing like hybrid like that.
Mhm.
At some time I'd love to see your,
Well, they're doing band,
okay,
and
yeah,
I think they're doing band and jazz band.
okay.
And so they want, because, yeah, like how we can, a small school can't provide music,
Right.
arts, language, physical education, nutrition, you know, it's just like. So if the school district's doing academics well, or literacy well, or, then, yeah, how do we work together to have all of us together provide different things? And I think that part of that is then it's a little, I like the idea of all of us doing our own silo well, you know, because if I'm passionate about project-based learning and I really want to do civics, then, that's what I do really well. So, and, social emotion. So then, and then whoever, you know, we piece together all of us, it's awesome, but the only problem with it is the sustainability and the longevity, and the coordination of it. Because like 1 year, like maybe I move, or, you know, so it just, and parents have to coordinate it. So the value in my mind of an institutional school is a community for kids, because sometimes when you're jumping around, you don't really get to know and form relationships with the kids, and that you do a little bit, but that safe community of people that you really are connected to, it's different. And then I think that the other thing is like having a community to work through things thick and thin instead of being able to pick and choose has a lot of value, in my mind of, just the resiliency and, consistency of that kind of community accountability and, learning, environment. Also, it has the same culture, like when you're going from SGMS to our school, it's really different. And so I think that that's probably challenging in some ways, especially with the peers, because I don't know, it's like, I think it's just challenging. So I don't, that's my response to that. I think the hard road of establishing consistent funding for an alternative that parents and educators define has a lot of value for our students in terms of just having consistent education and a social group. And just the paying for it and. Yeah.
Can you all hear me?
Do we want to get into the activity?
Oh.
Or just do it?
But there's like, I think like for this fall too, like the charter. I'm not even I just want it to be funded. I just want funding, and I want really good education for our kids, comprehensive education. So that means all of it. It means arts and civics and math, really good math. Like amazing, when I see the stuff that other schools are doing with engineering and science and math, it's just like unbelievable, right? So don't we want that for our kids? Like, yes, we do. And so that requires a lot of capacity. And so I just think if we really want to get really good education for our kids, it takes all of us to get it.
I didn't know where things stand, like the current, so you applied for a charter last year.
Mhm.
And that it's reapplies every year, because of like one time, like.
Yeah, so they approved about 19 schools, all public district applications. And then, so they're figuring out how to fund them and everything. The thing is, we've been talking to Chad, the superintendent of Livingston Schools, about partnering in an application, just to hopefully increase enrollment and give kids an alternative. So they understand the unenrollment, but I think right now they're trying to understand what the fiscal impact would be on the district if they did have a charter here. So if there's a parent contingent that wants an alternative, a public alternative that's stable and paid for and well designed in terms of all of our priorities, then we would apply, you know, but if there isn't good broad community support of parents and educators, then we should not apply. And then parents can continue to kind of,
Piecemeal or figure out a private option. That,
Did I understand that they didn't get approved last time? It was like pretty much the housing. Well, it was very like.
we I have been reaching out to the public schools since we started, just to say, let's partner, you guys do this, I'll provide this. And they don't have the capacity to partner or whatever, for whatever reason, but you have to get on the public, the school board's agenda. So that they can either approve the submission of the application or they can deny it. If they approve it, you submit a joint application. If they deny it, then you submit your own application, but I couldn't get on the agenda. They wouldn't put me on the agenda, so I couldn't get that.
community buy-in, you know? So,
So I think that now. But it's not about me or my school, it's about, or Elevate, it would be a community group.
whole new
So
one, yeah.
it's not about like me running my vision, it's about a community vision with my experience led to the design. But it's not, I don't wanna run the school, it's really like, then there would be a board, then we would hire our staff, like our teachers, and so, but it's a community school.
Yeah.
That we all design, and that's the intention.
We do have a question, sorry, real quick from Zoom, so I'll go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, my name's Leah Egbers, and we have our son is 19 months old, and he is at Elevate. And a few thoughts on, my husband and I love Elevate, and we would love to be able to continue similar kind of school for him as he gets older into elementary. And so one thing that I'm curious about is, beyond this meeting, what does community buy-in mean? Because I think somebody kind of alluded to it with the community center, how divided Livingston got. And so I think thinking about, does it mean you create some sort of kind of whatever you have on the boards, create some sort of mass email to people to get more than the room and the people that are on this call right now. And the concern, then when I kind of, with that, when I hear the piecemeal option, it's I would love to homeschool my son, but financially we can't do that. So for us, it would need to be a school. But I just think about really before thinking about what does community buy-in mean, and how is that assessed to really so that the entire community is represented, not only the families that attend Educatio and Elevate or wherever else, but just making sure the whole community is represented.
That's absolutely a fantastic point. I want to say this is just the first of what
Totally.
we envision to be a number of charrettes, if you will, similar
Cool.
to downtown master plan, how they have multiple meetings that are happening. I have invited people that are not members of either.
Well, yeah.
No, I know, but
For sure. Yeah.
we could get these people that are in attendance to invite people to, or tell people about the next meeting, and it kind of is a grassroots at this point. I think the enterprise might be doing something.
I feel like the people here, you showed up, means you have some sort of an interest in this. You have some sort of an opinion about what you're looking for, and it's probably different than what's already out there.
Yeah.
And so if we start with this group that's here and say, what do you want? What do you guys want? And let's start there. And then once we have something we can go out and talk to the community about and have a conversation that's more intelligent than, I don't know, I want something different.
Yeah,
Then we can say, this is what we're talking about. What do you think?
and then
What do
we can,
you think? And then that way we can have a conversation that sounds more like, I have an idea, this is what I want to run with. Do I have your buy-in? As opposed to, here's all these different little ideas, maybe we can make them work, but let's get a cohesive idea and then go out into the community. And I think that's the part that we really wanted to at least get to tonight. And I know like time is already kind of probably running short.
yeah, 15 minutes.
So really what I want to do from you guys, or what I want to know from you guys, is what do you want? So we did, Bailey kind of alluded to it, we hung poster boards around, we wrote things on them. What kind of a curriculum are you looking for your child? What sort of social emotional supports are you looking for your child?
Community.
Sustainability, sorry, I'm trying to read my writing. In terms of sustainability, what does that mean for you guys? Does that mean cohesiveness in teachers, funding by the state? What does it entirely look like?
Social, emotional,
Yeah,
and.
what's the furthest one? Oh, community. Emily's touched a lot on community. I think having a school that is based in community, that really cares about their community, that creates their ground rules and builds up from that is a really sustainable school, because then the children have the buy-in, they're going out into the community, they're getting excited, and they're making the community around them excited. So that's why it's a category. And then other, it's over here, it's on the other. But things like a flexible schedule, things that can work with the homeschooling community, because it is a big part of our community. Those things I think are all important for us to share. But because we are short on time, the way that I want us to share them is we have a bunch of markers up here. Children have some markers too, which you have to finagle from them.
Their names are spelled.
Scarlett and Georgia back there.
Georgia, I'm sure they'll share with you.
Really fast, Steve.
Yeah.
I would like to volunteer to sort of canvas. I think that would be a little more helpful with what you're wanting. Take these and just go door to door.
And be like, what?
And make other things and just ask, we're thinking of a charter school, explain what a charter school is. That really helps me understand. I think the fact that it's funded, it's not cost prohibitive to families possibly, or there might be other options, and just get random people's around the communities.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Because we're really swayed certain ways based on
Yeah.
why we're here.
Yeah.
When some people want a private school option, so definitely
Right.
say that too, like, what are the drawbacks of a public, a public funded school? And then, if you know, you just want a private school, and what that
Right.
means to, write that down. Hillary, what were you gonna say?
I think this is like workshopping the dream school.
Yeah.
So
Do it.
that's like, yeah, do it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Does anyone know how the alternative high school in Livingston is funded? Like, I know it used to be off campus, because I used to volunteer there, but then they put it in it's actually in the high school. And I'm guessing, I mean, it's part of the public school, so I'm guessing I don't know if it's part.
They do have one charter that's kind of it was approved as a charter a long time ago. There has already been a charter
Okay.
opportunity, but there was an online
I mean, they have
charter.
They have an alternative high school, I don't know if you know that, but it's within the
public
old
district.
Livingston public school now.
Well, that's good too, like, I think, I don't know,
That's
if we can
fine.
put another thing up that just says ideas or like contacts or connections
Yeah.
or.
I'll make
Which would be great, like research opportunities, which schools we already like that are good models.
Yeah.
I think is super helpful. For what facilities you guys already like that are really great models.
Yeah.
That was one too. I think facilities is so important for like how we think our kids learn best and what we want for our kids in terms of like outdoor nature space, egg space, commercial kitchens, whatever, art studios, whatever that is. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a simple question, when you apply for charter, I would say it's approved, what does that timeline look like for?
That's a wonderful question. You know how things work.
If we applied in November, they'd approve it by January, and then it could open in the fall of 2025. So it's not exciting, you know, like it's not 10 years out or 3 years out. But, and so I think that's good. And like, so is that a K8, a K12, a 9-12, what is that? Yeah.
You said before 19 will have formed this year, is that Livingston Montana? And
Yeah.
are they, all public schools? All-
But they weren't all like, one in Helena is like a public Montessori school.
Okay.
So there's different models,
Okay.
but they were all considered to be public charter schools.
So this would be a, us being alternative, trying to get private.
Well, if we went to the school board and said, the Livingston District School Board and said, what do you guys think about this charter application? Do you want a joint application submission? And they said yes, then it would be the district submitting this application that the community brought to them. And so that's a good case scenario in terms of using the Washington school, or, and then we share resources. If they deny it and say, no, we don't want a joint application, then we would apply, if we all decide to go forward, we'd apply as an independent application with their school board agenda denial of the joint application. And I think they're open to it. We've been meeting, we've had 5 or 6 meetings since February or December last year about a joint application. But they really want to know what those fiscal impacts are to the district, which is totally valid. So, and whether there's community buy-in. So I think when I know about community buy-in, I'm like, the charter would be about 79 to 90 kids. So are there that many families that would want to enroll in this alternative?
And
Yeah.
when I was back there, a parent asked me, like, I don't really know what I want, I just know what I don't want. Feel free under these as well to say don't want, whatever it is.
Yes.
In the
Yeah.
parentheses.
Because part of getting to where you want to go is knowing what you don't want.
Yeah.
So that's also.
And if the people on Zoom want to put it in chat, or I'll put my email address in and you can email it to me. We'll send out a document of all of what's written down so that everyone can look. I sent it directly to Leah, sorry, here's the group chat. There we go. Feel free to email it to me, or if you want to come off mute, I can walk around with you and write it down. So. Farm to school. Yeah.
Through course.
Yeah. I love it.
I would love that.
Right? She's the garden box component of my unicorn Highland cow. Mermaid teacher vision, you made an AI for my daughter's ideal school.
That's, that really rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I think we can sell that.
Do want. Yeah.
Even if they're not tonight, like, I really only need other parents that are, their kids are about to start kindergarten, like, I'm not. And I told them about the meeting tonight, but
There are 10 people on Zoom as well.
I think there's a lot of, there is, the community vibe is there, it's just about getting people organized.
Well, it's also like those people don't necessarily have the capacity to like hire a babysitter, so they want to participate, and I just didn't get the Zoom link out to them. And that's fine. Sorry.
Well,
I just made it today.
I think that's where it comes down to like us as individual parents, like talking to our friends and other parents that we know that are wanting something, just anything different than what we've experienced. Like, we pulled people out of school because the teacher told her to kill herself. Like,
Yeah.
that is not okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's not something you should have to say, but, you know,
Yeah.
it's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So.
Understood. So not that school.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Well, and then that would be, one of your wants would be K through 12.
Right.
So I know there's
And
some
that's
people on here that want,
Curriculum or other, wherever you want to put it.
Yeah.
Like,
And then I think that's a good start, if we collect these things, and I don't know if we put it in a word cloud, or we just put it somehow where it's digestible about what we've heard from you guys, then that will start growing.
And that
You
gives
know,
us.
where we can stamp it or
Thank
tag
you.
it, like how many other people really have this value. Cause I think we wanna get down to put all ideas on the table and then prioritize. And focus on which ones we all collectively share and then.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Yes.
Anyone online have something they would want me to put up, or do you want to just email it to me? Or is there anyone with questions?
Yeah, okay, right, split apart is that, like, and kids need different things, so it's
I feel like I should show them what's happening. I'll just show you what's happening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There. Awesome, Graham. Thanks.
That's why we left too.
That's too much, so it's nice to figure out how to- Yeah. And it just has to be well.
So like, you know, so many people are. Like if we. Yeah. We don't have our money, it's like. You know.
Even bringing, yeah, it doesn't actually have to get burned necessarily, I think the only thing that. Like, in my mind, it's more of a, like, parents doing it. It just, we have things come up in our life, and it's too hard to keep going. And it's not like it was helpful. Like, and I think it's pretty professional, and there's a lot of value. Like, if it's kind of for line, like, I do think my life is, like, you want really good information, and they're like, really well trained, and like, it's like that.
I feel like in the public over there.
Yeah, and
I found my daughter on. I'll get on there, they said.
Not sad.
I can arrive. So yeah, I did teacher, but I thought was very.
Yeah. And I think part of it, I mean, I guess I want to say part of the reason it's like. Maybe not funded enough, so like, what is emotional capacity and definitely it's related with training. It doesn't just happen all the time, but all of my, like, yeah, like, I think all of them.
Thank you, Bailey. Thank you.
And I.
We're gonna end the meeting now, guys, but I have notes that I'll send out from this, and then I will also send out what's been put on these boards. Leslie, I'll figure out like a Google Doc or something, and Leslie will send out a link to the parents in the newsletter. Thank you so much for attending. This has been really fun.